Story 1. Let me tell you about something that's been haunting me lately. Something I haven't told anyone, not even my wife. And honestly, I don't know what to do. It started about 5 years ago. My next-door neighbor Charles, Charlie to most of us, came to us with devastating news. His 14-year-old son had vanished. Just disappeared. He called the police, the story made the news, flyers were everywhere. It was heartbreaking. My wife and I did what we could to support them. We offered help, brought them meals, and just tried to be there. But as time passed and there were no updates, no signs, no hope, everyone kind of silently accepted the worst. We never had the courage to ask if they'd found the body. It just didn't feel right. Over the years, they'd still invite us over for the occasional summer barbecue, but you could tell things had changed. Kathy, Charles's wife, barely spoke anymore, and Charles was different, awkward, nervous, like he was always waiting for something to happen. Now fast forward to just last week. I was taking out the trash when Charles walked over and asked to borrow a shovel. I didn't think twice. I grabbed him my best one and handed it over. He said he needed to do some work in the backyard and promised to return it the next day. Later, from an upstairs window that overlooks his yard, I saw him digging. Not a small hole, this was big and deep. He's 56, and I could tell he was struggling. So I figured, why not help him out? I grabbed my backup shovel and walked over, but the moment I called his name, he dropped the shovel and rushed over, panicked. No, it's okay, I've got it. Please, just leave. I was like, what's wrong with you? I'm just offering to help. But he looked me dead in the eyes and said, I will not allow you to use that shovel in my backyard. Then he pointed to the gate like I was a stray dog. I was so caught off guard that I just left without saying another word. Back in my house, I kept watching from the window. He kept digging for about another 30 minutes. Then he paused, started looking around, scanning the houses, and then he spotted me. We locked eyes. I quickly stepped away like I was doing something else. But from that moment, I knew something wasn't right. That night, I stayed up. At 1:30 a.m., I heard it again. The sound of a shovel hitting dirt. I peeked through the blinds, but it was too dark to see. So I grabbed a flashlight, snuck outside, and looked over the fence. Sure enough, he was still digging. Then he went inside, and that's when I saw my chance. I quietly climbed over the fence and tiptoed to the hole. Even with the faint moonlight, I could see it. Sticking out of the dirt at the bottom was the edge of a black garbage bag. I looked back at his door, then at the bag. I did that 3 times, trying to decide if I should reach in. In the end, I ran, back to my yard, back inside. And it's a good thing, too. He came back out moments later. But this time, he didn't go back to digging. He walked around the side of his house and disappeared. The next morning, I looked out the window first thing. The hole was gone. Completely patched up, like nothing had ever happened. But his SUV, now parked on the street instead of the driveway. I don't know what happened that night, but I can't stop thinking about that bag. What if it was his son? Or something even worse? What if he moved it, dug it up just to get rid of it elsewhere? He never gave me back my shovel, and I'm not asking for it. Ever since, he's been avoiding me. And yesterday, this still sends chills down my spine. I looked out my window and saw him, staring into mine. Middle of the day, just watching me. When he saw me notice, he slammed the blinds shut. I don't know what he's hiding, but I do know this. I'm scared, and I don't know what to do next. Story 2. I've lived in 3 houses in my life. The first one with my family for the first 15 years, the second for the next 7, and now finally, I live alone. This story happened during those final months in our first house, back when I was 15. It's something I've never really talked about, not even with my family. We never had much to do with the neighbors growing up. There were 2 boys living next door with their dad, Eric and Todd. My brother and I maybe spoke to them once or twice our entire lives. They just weren't social. And to be honest, there was something a little off about them. One day, my younger brother and I were outside playing basketball in the driveway when Todd walked up out of nowhere. He struck up a casual conversation, asking if it was true that we were moving. I did most of the talking, older brother duty. Todd seemed around my age, maybe a little older. By the end of the conversation, he invited me, and last minute my brother too, to go shoot BB guns with him and his brother down by the river in the woods the next day. It was a weekend, and we were curious enough to agree. The next evening, just before dusk, Eric and Todd showed up at our front door. We slipped out quickly without telling our parents. They were both dressed head to toe in camo, and Eric was lugging a duffel bag. It all felt a little intense. My brother and I exchanged looks, Arda trying not to laugh. It was like they were preparing for war. We barely spoke the whole walk. Once we got into the woods, Todd dropped the bag on the ground and unzipped it. Eric stormed off to break a branch off a tree and whipped it into the river. It was weirdly aggressive. Then Todd handed us what looked like BB guns. But just as we were getting a grip on them, he dropped the bomb. "They're real!" I thought he was joking. Until Eric pulled out another gun, aimed across the river, and fired. The sound made it crystal clear. They weren't joking. I was stunned. I grabbed the gun out of my little brother's hands, tossed both of them back in the bag, and told them we weren't cool with this. We were leaving. They didn't try to stop us, but they didn't take it well either. One of them muttered a curse under their breath as we walked away. That was the moment I knew. We hadn't just run into a couple of weird kids. These two were dangerous. That night at dinner, we told our parents the boys were strange, but we left out the part about the guns. Later that night, I woke up to a cold breeze hitting my face. My window was wide open. Before I could react, I felt something press against the back of my head. Hard. And then a whisper right behind me. Shh. It was Todd. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just froze. And somehow, my brain processed everything in a split second. He was holding a gun to my head. In a hushed voice, he told me that if I ever spoke about what happened, especially to his dad, he'd come back and kill me and my whole family. All I could do was nod, whisper a shaky, "Okay." He pushed the barrel against my head a little harder, then disappeared back out the window. For the next few months, until the day we moved, I would catch one of them staring into our bedroom windows at night, just standing there, watching. A week before we moved, a rock hit my window around 1 a.m. I opened it, and there was Todd, standing below, pointing a pistol straight up at me. I thought that was it. I thought I was about to die. Then both of them burst into laughter. One of them called me and they ran off. That wasn't the only time that week. They harassed us a few more times, always late at night, always in subtle, creepy ways. And when moving day finally came, it was a relief like no other. I've never looked back. To this day, neither my brother nor I have told a soul about what really happened with those two. And honestly, I don't want to know what became of them. All I know is they were messed up, and we got out just in time. Story 3. At the time I'm writing this, it's only been 2 weeks since it happened, and I still haven't fully processed it. I'm fresh out of college, living on my own for the first time. Independence feels great, but it came at a price. I couldn't afford much, so I ended up in a really rough neighborhood, the kind of place where you don't expect to have friendly neighbors. On one side, constant loud music day and night, but on the other side, something far worse, something disturbing. 2 women live next door. One is older, probably in her 60s, cold, unfriendly, always looking like she's somewhere else mentally. The other woman is younger, maybe in her 30s or 40s, but clearly has severe mental issues. I have no idea what their relationship is, mother and daughter, caregiver and patient. I never asked. What I do know is that I've seen things I wish I hadn't. I'd be sitting on my front porch and glance over to see the younger woman rocking violently, screaming, flailing, while the older woman tried to hold her back. Sometimes she'd even point at me, eyes wide and wild, and mumble things to the older woman. It was unnerving enough that I'd often just go back inside, but nothing compared to what happened that night. It started like any other. I had work in the morning, so I turned in early, but next door, chaos erupted. The younger woman was screaming louder than usual, banging, shouting nonsense. I tried to ignore it for a while, but after an hour, I couldn't take it. I stormed over and pounded on their front door. The older woman answered, clearly irritated. "What the hell do you want?" she snapped. I tried to be polite. "Could you please keep it down?" She just glared. head tilted, eyebrows raised like I was the one being rude. Then, from behind her, the younger woman appeared and started shrieking, "How dare you!" over and over again, lunging at me while the older woman restrained her. And just like that, the door slammed in my face. I walked back to my house confused, annoyed, but at least it went quiet after that. I finally managed to fall asleep, but I woke up later, way too early. My eyes barely opened before I noticed something strange. My window was wide open, and I was sure I hadn't left it that way. Then I heard a sound, something subtle, a shuffle, a breath. I sat up in bed, frozen, heart racing. I reached for my phone, not to call anyone, but to use the flashlight. I didn't even want to turn on the lamp. I needed to see. I scanned the room in the dark, corners, shadows, nothing. But then I heard it again, closer. I turned toward the side of my bed, and that's when I saw it, a shadow, low against the wall. At first I thought it was part of the bed frame, but when I moved the light closer, it wasn't a shadow. It was a face. Her face. The mentally unstable woman from next door was crouched beside my bed, staring up at me with wide, unblinking eyes. And the moment the light hit her, she screamed. Not a normal scream, something feral, like an animal. I screamed too, scrambled out of bed, tripped halfway to the door, looked back, and she was coming after me on all fours. I slammed the bedroom door behind me, bolted downstairs, and locked the door to the upper level. My hands were shaking as I dialed 911. All the while, I could hear her upstairs, pounding on the door, shrieking gibberish. When the cops arrived, I told them exactly what happened, that the woman lived next door and that she was clearly mentally unstable. The older woman came over shortly after, claiming it was a mistake and pleading for them not to arrest her. But the officers insisted they had to take the younger woman in for the night. One of them even asked if I wanted to press charges. And as he did, the older woman turned to me and gave me a look so full of hatred and pure evil, I'll never forget it. I said no, I didn't press charges, but the stare didn't change. They drove the younger woman away, and 5 minutes later, I saw the older one get in her car and leave too. They're both still living next door, and every time I step outside, I feel it. That hatred, that tension. The older woman despises me now. And the younger one? I'm convinced she's not just unstable. She's dangerous. And honestly, I don't think I can stay here much longer. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or maybe the next crazy neighbor could be yours. And remember, the darkness is always surrounding us, just waiting for a chance. Thanks for watching. See you on the next story.